Hi folks, and welcome to a new video. In today's episode of our NestJS demo project, we are going to connect a database. In this specific video today, we are using a MySQL database, which I installed just before this video, and I set up a test database with just one table, which stores our cats. Our main goal is, if I'm hitting up here Postman, if you're gonna call our get endpoint, that we receive a list of all cats which are currently stored in the database. So right now I am getting 3 entries, Herbert, Garfield, and the third one is null. So there is some kind of issue there, so we have to look into that. If we are gonna open up our database, before we move on with our regular scheduled video, let me just thank you to our sponsor. Skillshare is an online learning platform. The first 1,000 people to use this link will get a month free trial of Skillshare. I personally love the fact that with one subscription, you get so many different high quality videos from all different fields out there. You can learn about coding, filmmaking, marketing, animation, UI UX design, and so on. So there is limitless possibilities. One of my favorite things in software development, as you guys probably know, is clean code. And guess what? On Skillshare is a lovely course from Christian Hallman, senior developer at Microsoft from Berlin, about the JavaScript toolkit, write cleaner, faster, and better code. I highly respect Christian and can recommend his class without any doubt. You will just learn how to write elegant, clean, and better code in the future. If you're completely new in the world of software development and clean code is just a phrase which confuses you, don't worry more. There are plenty of beginner courses on Skillshare as well. So it doesn't matter if you are a beginner, intermediate, or expert developer, or in your specific field. You can always and will always learn more on Skillshare, I guarantee you that. What have we done? Skillshare and I partnered up so that the first 1,000 users who uses my link in the description to sign up get a free membership trial of Skillshare Premium. And now let's get back into the regular video. Base, which is test is database and tables. Right now we get here the cat table. We are having 3 entries, like we do get here in our response. So right now the thing is already working. So we have successfully connected the our controller, and in the background there's a service, there's a repository to our database, which is running right here on my local instance, local host to say so. Alright, so what should be done to achieve such a connection? First of all, you have to make an install. So you have to install the type-orm module. All right, so if we are going there, you have to run these install commands. So the NestJS type-orm is installed, and in my case, the MySQL adapter. So after the installation is complete, you have to import the type-orm module. Now you can pass the options in the for root function, or you can create an ormconfig.json file where you store all your database connections. So I would highly suggest that you make an own configuration file, which is much easier to use, and if you want to hide such information, you can ignore them. So right now we are seeing here my type is MySQL, like I showed you before. The host is the local host, this is my current machine. 3306 is the standard port. You can configure the port when you install MySQL. Like the same goes for username and password. In this case, it's just root. I would highly encourage you to change the password at least to something more sophisticated. The database is test, like you have seen here in the MySQL Workbench test, and the entities are dynamic configured here. So every file which is ending on TS or GS in the dist folder which have an entity name in the complete file name is being considered. So in my case, it is the cat entity TS. And you see here, we have the ID, first name, last name, and it's healthy. So those are reflected right here. So you can just simply look at those and get an idea how those things are working. All right. So first things first. You have to create an entity file, an entity class, so you can reflect your table in code. So that is typically your DTO, yeah, your data transfer object. You can, as I said before, you have to mark them like entity. Those are attributes from NestJS, and then you can go there and say, okay, right now ID is my primary generated column, which is auto incremented in the MySQL database. And then you have a couple more columns which are reflected right here. So then I would suggest that you create your cat service. The service in the end eventually makes all the calls to your database and retrieves or updates or sets data in the actual database. So right now we got some couple of interesting things going on there. So that is my cat service. I inject the repository, I should say, with the cat entity definition like we've seen before. And I am creating a cats repository with the repository. Repository is coming from the type ORM from NestJS. Those are generics, and I will set the type of cat. So that makes it pretty easy to communicate with the database or your data source. So in my case, find all is right now linked to the get. So if we are making a get request, the controller is called and it actually uses this function. That is everything you have to do to read all your data from your database. It returns a promise, we have a cat array, and it just says, okay, give me from the cat repository all you can find. So find doesn't have any options, any parameters queries, so it returns everything it gets. Different that is find one, where it actually finds one, and basically this is filtered by the ID, right? Yeah, remove goes on the delete endpoint, and the add actually goes to the insert, so it inserts a new cat in the database. All right, so we do have an entity, we do have a cat service. What we also need is a cat's HTTP module to make these things working. So those are basically cats module, cat service, cats controller. And eventually we do have a cats module, which is defined here. The difference, if you remember from our app module, we do get the for root. So this is very much like Angular. It's, yeah, NestJS is somehow or some kind related or built on Angular. We do have one for root. And then if you are in a specific feature, in our case in the cats module, you have the for feature method where you can set an array of entities in this case. So the type ORM module gets configured correctly, and we are setting our cat. Very much the same we do here on our cat service, and the controller is our cat's controller, and we are exporting the type ORM module, which are imported right there, so we can use that specific part in our app module. We're importing the cats module, right? The very last part before we can actually run this thing is our cats controller. In our cats controller, you're just gonna use our cat service like it's defined here with the repository pattern. So you can simply get call the cat service find all. Right here there is some parts from our previous video. But if you're gonna create a cat, there is some pretty neat stuff you can use. You can use the add body attribute function, so that NestJS knows that the rest of this, in our case our cat, is in the body, right? So that should be automatically mapped. And then we're just gonna call the cat service add, and we are passing our cat, which eventually and hopefully should be added. So right now our application is running. Let's just hop there back, make just one more get call, which is absolutely working fine. Now, if we're gonna go over to our post call, we do have an body here, which is our JSON, first name, last name, healthy, Hubert Goisen. So let's just call this. And yeah, we do get a status, which is 201 created, which is fine, but we get an empty object back. So, all right, so yeah, I just found an article where the actual error that I was receiving had nothing to do with our implementation. It's just a problem if you're sending form data, or in my case, raw, which is not working. Application JSON, all right, okay. I just switched over to the UL encoded workaround, or not workaround, in this format, and right now, as you can see, I can add those. The ID is getting incremented, and it's right now 9. Hubert goes on false. If I change this here to, let's say, friends who, and we are just putting those in, it's the ID 10. And if we switch back over to our database and make here a select statement, we see here Hubert and friends who. So those are just working fine. Now, if we go back to our NestJS get part, and we are getting all those entries back. So keep in mind, if you're working with a NestJS project and you have problems when you're sending body parts, just make those UL encoded, or probably switch back to raw and set them to JSON correspondingly. So that should be working. Send it over. 12. All right, now it's working as well. So yeah, that was basically a beginner mistake. So you have to set it to JSON or use the WW form UL encoded values to get a thing working. All right, so as always, there are multiple ways to get this thing working in the end. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.